The City Council for the City of Rollingwood will come to order Wednesday, December 17th, 2025 at 7 p.m. and we will begin with roll call.
Brooke Brown.
Kevin Shell.
Kevin Glasheen.
Bill McDuffie.
Sarah Hudson.
Gavin Massengale being quorum present. We will move on to public comment. Anyone wishing to make public comment on items not on the agenda?
Yes, we have Mr. Arno Prodal.
All right. Arno, come on up. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, council members and Mr. Mayor. I would like to follow up and have an update on the item that was discussed in August at the August council meeting regarding the access from Stratford Drive to Almerian Way through these two properties that are under construction. At the time, the council had taken the decision to block access, and I would have liked to have an update and know where we are, if it is enacted, and the follow-up question would be if the access is going to be physically blocked.
Okay, great.
That's it.
Thank you. And if you would please identify yourself just for the record.
Sure. My name is Arno Prodal, and I live on 200 Almerian Way.
Okay, great. Just to recap, since this is an item not on the agenda, we're not allowed to visit with you during the meeting, but if you will follow up, or I'll actually have Alan follow up with you tomorrow, and we'll try to get you some information on that.
Okay.
Great.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to make comments on items not on the agenda?
Yes, we have Jeff Marks.
Hey, Jeff, welcome.
Thank you. Hi everyone, Jeff Marks, 2516 Timberline Drive. I wanted to share with you something I've been working on, which is called the Rollingwood Report, a periodic summary of recent meetings in Rollingwood. As you know, there's limited dedicated local news coverage for our small community these days. The former Westlake Picayune, which covered Rollingwood and Westlake Hills, is no longer publishing new content. The Austin American Statesman's Westlake section hasn't been updated recently, and outlets like the Community Impact News only cover major developments sporadically. The official meeting minutes are thorough, but often posted over a month after the meeting has occurred. To help fill this gap and to keep residents more informed in a timely way, I've been experimenting with using AI to generate concise summaries based on publicly available sources. A quick overview of the process. First, I review the latest meeting videos and materials from the City of Rollingwood website. I craft detailed prompts from the AI to produce a structured report focusing on key discussions, decisions, quotes, and action items. The output is edited minimally for clarity, with an emphasis on sticking closely to the source material with no intentional additions or alterations to introduce bias. This is not a replacement for professional journalism or the official record. It is AI generated, so it may occasionally miss nuance, contain minor inaccuracies, or lack the depth of human reporting. A disclaimer will be included in each report, encouraging readers to verify details against the original transcripts and to let me know if any errors for correction. If the city is interested, I'm happy to collaborate on this project. Otherwise, I can share it directly with residents. Separately, I also suggest enhancing agendas for better clarity and Texas Open Meeting Act's compliance. The Texas Open Meeting Act Handbook 2026 edition, Section 7B, emphasizes that notice must be sufficient to apprise the general public of subjects to be considered. It references the case of Webb County versus Mayors, which is where an opaque agenda item led to litigation because it failed to adequately describe the action taken. The City of Austin provides a good example of detailed agendas. Thank you again for your service and consideration.
Thank you, Jeff. Sorry we're not able to talk to you about it, but I'm interested. So, and I know our city secretary would be, so we'll happy to visit with you further. Anyone else wishing to make comments on items not on the agenda? Shanti.
Shanti Jayakumar, 3309 Park Hills Drive. Mayor, council, neighbors, city staff. Usually I come to share some historical data of past events, but today I want to talk about history in the making. I congratulate the mayor, council, city staff, especially the public works department led by Izzy Para, and on the near completion of the CIP waterline and the street paving projects. The team has had to bear the brunt of many complaints. They have been extremely patient and helpful, trying to please everyone, which we all acknowledge is impossible under the best of circumstances, leave alone under the construction zone over many months. So, we have all witnessed an extraordinary amount of activity around our 1 square mile city. Over the last year, we as a community were called upon to sacrifice our daily comfort zones when heavy machinery was parading up and down our streets on a daily basis with the water line installation. At times, it felt like a war zone. It has been chaotic, and needless to say, some of us complained more than others did. But the projects are almost all done, except for street paving and striping that are getting completed. If you drive, walk, or run over the newly paved streets, it feels like you're walking in a pair of Nike Air or something like that. Try it, it really does. You know the feeling. Or if you don't, go walk our streets. We have been tolerating a lot of disruptions to traffic and with waterline breaks, followed by boil water notices, and time after time, we as a city have prevailed and cooperated. Now we can relax. Thank you, Mayor, Council, and especially city staff, who are all here, for your dedicated efforts to get these various projects done with the least amount of disruption to our daily commutes and way of life. Finally, I hope it's not too much to ask new applicants for building permits, whoever they may be, to please treat our newly paved roads with care and respect. We've waited a long time for this, so let's all cooperate and let's get new building permit people also, builders, whoever. We can't let this go bad so quickly anyway. Happy holidays to all Rollingwood residents, to our city staff, including our very own police department, where are they? Here, who collectively and tirelessly work to protect our community and keep us safe. I could go on, but you get the picture. So, thank you all so much.
Thank you, Shanti. Agreed. And with that, we will move on to agenda item number 2. Oh, are there anyone else? No. Seeing none, no hands raised. We'll move on to agenda item number 2 under presentations. Presentation and discussion on the annual records management report to City Council. This is a statutory requirement, and I will turn this over to Alan for a quick presentation.
So as you know, it's an annual requirement here that the person in charge of the records management, the city secretary, present a report to City Council. So Michaela and I have looked at it, and she's drafted up. With the mayor's permission, I'll turn it over to Michaela so she can explain the update.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm just here to give you the annual records report. We have Iron Mountain. We've contracted with them since 2018. And over the summertime, Alan recommended acquiring Laserfish, and that is a digital record management software. And so that was implemented on September 30th, 2025, and it was budgeted for during the 2025-2026 budgeting process. And as of today, we have digitized 195 records. It's been a process learning the software, evaluating the current records that we have, what kind of workflows that we want the software to have. And so next year we're hoping to bring back a more updated or more impressive report, but we're making slow progress.
I think the part of the report is, it's slow at the very beginning. We implemented, there's a lot of programming, a lot of kind of granular information at the beginning that we set up. So we're setting that up, making sure that the staff is on board. I've used Laserfish in the past in a couple of other cities and set it up. The setting up and the very deliberate configuration is critical. If you make a mistake now, it's terrible. So it's very few records in there at the moment, but it's a really robust underlying structure. And as we build that out, then we can exponentially increase the amount of records in there and withdraw some of our records from Iron Mountain, reduce our dependency on there, and reduce that kind of carrying cost. And of course, the inaccessibility of the records to the city secretary and city staff. It's hard to know. I mean, I'm sure Shanti has a lot of those records memorized. We don't. We'd like to have them here. We'd like to have them at our fingertips. And so that's what we're working towards.
Thank you, Michaela. Thanks, Alan. Any questions for Alan or
Yeah.
Michaela?
Quick question. You say 195 records. So is that documents, pages, boxes?
Records can be is somewhat it. Like an agenda is a record. A recording is a record. It could be a video clip. It could be an audio clip. At the moment, it is documents.
Right.
But a record more generally, it could be any media. So at the moment, it is paper records that have been digitized and OCR'd. But it absolutely could include things like audio recordings and video recordings later.
But it's like a document, like a multiple page document would
Yes,
be
ma'am.
one record.
Yes.
Okay.
Great. Any other questions? All right. Thanks again. Thank y'all for your work on that. And with that, we'll move off agenda item number 2. Moving on to the consent agenda, rather. Happy to take a motion or
Move approval of the consent agenda.
have a motion to approve the consent agenda by Ms. Brown. Is there a second?
Second.
Have a motion by Ms. Brown, a second by Mr. Shell. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Being 5 ayes, no nays, motion carries. Thank you, council. And with that, we will move on to the regular agenda. Moving to agenda, I want to make sure we don't have any Boy Scouts in the room. If so, I will pull them up first. I don't see any. So with that, we will move directly to agenda item number 9. Discussion and possible action to create a separate dedicated dog off-leash area in the Rollingwood Park. This is Mr. Glasheen's item. Recognize Mr. Glasheen.
Thank you. And, you know, it seems that we have community consensus to create a separate dog park that's dedicated. And the Park Commission had a good meeting on that, which is referenced in the packet, and appointed a subcommittee to study alternatives and make suggestions and proposals, which they are going to take up again in January. I'd like to wait until we hear from them before we take any action on anything, and, you know, of course, post, you know, for action, and I'd certainly like to notify people when we're going to take action on this in my own email newsletter, which I did run the last one through AI for editing, and it was a lot better, a lot shorter and to the point, so I think I'm going to keep doing that. Save y'all a lot of trouble. But in any case, I think it's worth, you know, having a conversation going about it now. And I wanted to share some of my thoughts on it so that you guys could be considering, you know, potential aspects of this separate dog park and ways that we could make it happen. And I think that the first decision really needs to be made as to what is this location and size of the separate dog park. And I think there's a lot of consensus that it needs to be there at the park and incorporate the north parking lot into it and divide fields 3, 4, and 5 in some fashion to achieve the separate dog park on the north side of that, which would let fields 3 and 4 share with the softball field if there's no fence between them, share outfields. You know, that's a proposal that I put out there for a 0.6 acre dog park, which I've got in front of the Park Commission, and I had sent a PowerPoint. I thought I was sending over here to get into this packet too, but maybe not. But next meeting, if we could put that PowerPoint that I sent you for Parks Commission into our packet, so that we'll have that for discussion as well. And it just contains some useful measurements of the fields from Google Earth and give you some ideas of what sizes we're talking about. I can tell you that, you know, we've been, Park Commission Chair Melissa Morrow has got a lot of personal background in baseball since she works in Little League. And she's been talking to Little League, and so have I. And, you know, I think that they don't want to get involved in our politics, but I think that those fields, even reduced, compromised, would work for them based on my conversations with Jay Weintraub, that, you know, the little kids don't hit long balls, and if they're overlapping with softball, that would still be functional. My biggest concern on the size of the dog park is that I want it to be grass. The research that I've seen and my own opinion is that if we make it too small, grass will not survive on that dog park. And if it's not grass, frankly, I don't even want to have a separate dog park. I don't want a dirt dog park or mulch or gravel or concrete. I just don't want it. You know, I'd rather not have one than have that. And you know, not having one's an option. You know, we can go to Redbud Trail and Zilker, but for me, what I've seen from the community is that the dog park is really most of the connection that some people have to Rolling Wood. There's a lot of people who don't have any other real connection to the community, hadn't really met any neighbors or hadn't gotten engaged other than through the dog park. And it's very meaningful to the people who do make those personal connections there, and they're meaningful connections. So, you know, people say, well, how much land do we need for dogs versus kids? Well, it's not dogs versus kids. It's a community that is created there of the people who come up there with their dogs, and the dogs are just a way of getting them out of the house a lot of times and getting them forced to go out and engage with the world. And, you know, I mean, a lot of studies, I saw a study recently that showed that how your life expectancy can be predicted by how many human interactions you have each day with how many different people. And, you know, going up to that dog park is going to be the only human interactions outside their home that some people have. And for me, it's been very significant. I'll tell you, I ran for city council because I wanted to get to know my neighbors, which
How's that going?
And I'll tell you that I really love the dogs up at the dog park. Gotten to know them, and there's a lot of nice dogs, but I've gotten to know a lot more people through that dog park too, and you know, it's important to the community. So I want to make sure we have it and that it's functional and that baseball's functional too. There's some concern that if we, I think one idea that we need to have is to keep it from being loved to death. We should consider finding a way to restrict the usage of the dog park a little bit, or at least discourage overuse of the dog park. And I think one way we could consider doing that, and there's lots of things we could talk about and people have ideas, this is why I want to mention it now so you can think about it at our next council meeting. One idea would be to create a dog park association that manages the rules of the dog park and keeps it up. And, you know, we could license dogs in Rolling Wood. If you're going to have a dog here and take it to the dog park, you pay an annual fee. It could be $20. And you get a little tag. It could be maybe controlled access to it through a key fob, or gate codes don't work. And at my apartments, we've gone away from keypads to key fobs. But whatever it is, you know, having a licensing thing, I'm not worried about enforcing it because I think it'll be somewhat self-enforcing if there's, you know, a rule that you have to have a license. And then if we wanted to, we could charge a differential rate to people who are not residents of Rolling Wood. So I don't know what that rate would be, but if it was $20 a year for a resident, it could be, you know, $100 for a year for non-residents of Rolling Wood. And I think it would also keep out commercial dog walkers from coming over here and using it. So that's just a thought that I think we ought to discuss. Another thought that I had about it was that there's some concern that the dogs are slowly being pushed out of the park and will be pushed out eventually by some, you know, other council later. And this is a compromise, and there's, you know, much like Ukraine wants some security agreement assurances during the during a ceasefire or a settlement of the war, I think the dog park users would want some security assurances for their territory. And one way we could do that is create a lease to the Dog Park Association, a 10-year lease that kind of mirrors the way the baseball leases have been done, and secure that space for the foreseeable future. So I think we ought to consider that, and we'll need legal counsel's opinion on both of those ideas of, one, the differential pricing to non-residents, and two, the idea of I guess 3 items. The idea of creating an association that is a lessee, or maybe not lease, but is probably the wrong word. It's probably a licensed user that has some licensed rights. But whatever it is, I think it's something we should consider, get legal counsel to consider and give us some advice on how to structure such an arrangement. I think another thing that we should, that I personally like some direction on, and maybe I'm kind of also asking for, on behalf of the Park Commission, although they didn't ask me to ask this, but I'm just want to think through and talk through the process of getting the design work done to lay out the park. And let me be clear that I don't think that we need to design the entire dog park before we go forward with this. I think all we need to do is lay out the space, the location, the size, and further design work can be done as we go along. But I think that's a step in the process that we need to go. And I think that, you know, we've had already approved some design work for a parking lot and a tree project through the Park Commission that RCDC has agreed to fund. And likewise, we had the Park Commission approved some funding for a sprinkler system design, which got us here, but we still haven't gotten anywhere with the sprinkler system design. But we have some approved funding for that. That's also likewise been approved by RCDC. But I think if we're going to now add the dog park to this, and we want to integrate all of that, we're probably going to need to engage and I would think we get the Park Commission to maybe suggest who to engage, but engage a landscape architect. And then I'm just wondering what, you know, the process is, if we have to do any kind of RFQs or RFPs, or if it's something that's under, I know the legislature just raised the dollar limit on contracts that don't have to be put out. I think it went up to 50,000.
It's been 50, it's now 100.
Okay, so we're not in any danger of that. So if Park Commission wants to recommend somebody and we get a proposal for services, we can bring that to council and get it approved if everyone agrees with the substance of that proposal.
Yes, sir, that
Okay.
would be the process.
All right, so procedurally, that's good, because I think it would be helpful to know, you know, what the next step would be once we decide how to divide this thing. So anyway, those are my thoughts. That's all.
Great, good thoughts. Council, any other thoughts? Okay, well, what I'll suggest, I think there's a certain, well, let me say this. I think there would be a certain poetry involved if we use Jeff Marks' AI tool to summarize Kevin Glasheen's comments. And then
I'm gonna guess it would be misleading.
and then, well, I'll amend that, staff. Let's use the AI tool that we've been told about. Let's summarize these comments. Let's let council member review said comments, and then we'll provide those to the Park Commission for their consideration. So, okay, with that, I see Tom chomping at the bit. Are you on this one?
I'm signed up.
Come on up.
There you go.
We always love to hear from
There
you.
you go. Tom Farrell, 3223 Park Hills Drive. First of all, thank you guys and ladies for serving. This is great that you did that. Kevin, I want to thank you for leading the charge on this. I think that's a really good thing to get the temperature down and make this thing work long term. So I think that's a good way to do it. I wanted to just, I was at the Park Commission meeting, and I want to say how well of a meeting that Melissa Morrow ran on that. It was just excellent. I think everybody walked out of there. It was a lot of tension, but everybody walked out of there feeling that there was a path forward that would be some solutions that I think everybody could get behind eventually on that. So I think it was good. I want to kind of relate a few of the things I said to the Park Commission on that. First of all, I wanted to give make sure everybody knew the history of this how we acquired the park. we did not own the park in 1994. It was owned by a independent group locally known as the Optimist Club of Westlake. They had a purchaser that was a land developer that wanted to put some housing on that. They offered it to the city of Rollingwood to purchase first. We had recently concluded a lawsuit and had gained $250,000 from the city of Austin, and that's basically all the money we had. And we offered that to them, which was less than what they were being offered, and we had to have a vote to be able to do that. They agreed for that, and we had to have a vote. So we took the vote. The vote was roughly 55 to 45 to buy that. So it wasn't a slam dunk, and there were a lot of reasons people didn't vote for that. One is they anticipated it was going to be a financial drag on the city in the future. There was some concern that there was going to be a commercial use of it eventually, which we know how that works. And and people wanted certainty about what was being done. So it wasn't, we ended up with a deed restriction that required us to do certain things to lease the property for a youth deal. And we gave our word as a city we would do that, which is important. I think we honor that. And but I wanted to make sure that the council knew it wasn't just the sellers that asked for that. It was some of our citizens asking for that also, because they wanted to know that the use of that park in the future on that. Now, that said, times change. One of the big things we've tried to do in this city for a long time is expand beyond our concept of a city of Rollingwood, that we are a community and a neighborhood. And I think this idea of the community of the dog park area is great. And I think that's something we can do. I had asked the Park Commission to consider three things, and I think y'all are ahead of me on doing some of that, but I had asked them to, first of all, visit with the Little League and the girls softball to ensure that whatever the dividing lines were, that was usable land, that they could make sure that they didn't do that. We owe that to them, and we owe it for the fact that we gave our word that we were going to do that as a city. The second request I made is that we do not designate this as a dog park and put that on a map so that everybody every Google map is going to have this as a dog park. So we classify it as something else. We can use it for whatever we want to, however rules we want to put. But I think we should not designate that as a dog park, because I think that gets on Google Maps and you get to use that term, loved to death, and that's what I think will happen. And the third thing I had asked, which I think we're ahead on that too, is that we develop rules about how we do that. And I wanted to point out that I think that ordinance is still in place, because I doubt if we ever actually do away with an ordinance. But we used to have an ordinance that said if you have a dog in Rollingwood, you had to go register the dog, and you got a little tag that went on the dog's collar. And I suspect that's still out there, but it's obviously not being enforced, so it doesn't matter. But that's the kind of thing. I like the idea of maybe a separate organization. The only concern I have is that these are our citizens using it, and I'm not sure we should charge our citizens to use that, because it's their park too. I don't mind charging a different a rate for other people, but I do. That's just a minor point. But I do think that we're headed in the right direction. I couldn't agree more that this is going to. But it was really a well-run meeting, and it was really heartening. It was heartening for me to see that. So I thank y'all for all y'all's consideration. I just wanted to make sure y'all knew that.
Thanks, Tom. Agree on all points there.
Can I make some comments on Tom's?
Sure.
comment Before we go on to Jeff's?
Yep.
So I agree with you on not charging residents if we could. One of the reasons I talked about doing that was I think we may need to, if we're gonna have differential pricing for non-residents. I'm not sure if we can make it free for residents and charge for non-residents, but maybe if we can, great. And as far as not calling it a dog park, I think the Rolling Wood Canine Club would be the right name for our section.
No one will ever Google that.
The RCC.
Yeah.
That's what we need.
Yeah, so, and we can sell merch, we can have a website to sell merch. Anyway, the couple other points on the deed restrictions, you mentioned that it requires us to lease to them, it does not.
Well, just to use of
It requires that we keep 4 fields, and we've got 5 now. And under the proposal that I put out there, we lose a field, but it still complies with the lease. And there's enough, I'll call it wiggle room in the lease that, you know, we can have a dog park up there. But in my opinion, we can always get council's opinion, but the real council. And I agree with you as far as honoring the spirit of the deed restrictions, whether they're enforceable or not enforceable. I think it's appropriate to honor the spirit of it. And I think that even this proposal that we've got on the, that I've been pushing is consistent with the lease. That was all.
Thank you, Councilman. Mr. Marks?
Hi, everyone, I'm back. Jeff Marks, 2516 Timberline Drive. Kevin, thanks for your comments earlier and your hard work on this. I also support building community. I do support a dedicated dog park, and I like your ideas around registration. I'm personally on the waiting list for a dog. I look forward to using the dog park myself. Your comments you just had, I think you used the terms lease and deed interchangeably. So I encourage everyone to read, especially read the lease, also read the deed, but the lease is important. Everyone in this room to read it. I appreciate the ongoing efforts to improve Rolling Wood Park with a dedicated dog park that balances the needs of community users. I would support a dedicated dog park that accommodates both dog owners and youth sports users effectively, especially if it had the backing of the leagues and Little League parents in Rolling Wood. The smaller 0.4 acre dog park proposal from the Parks Commission meeting appears to better preserve the existing athletic fields, particularly the backfields, Hatley Fields 3, 4, and 5 that are vital to youth sports. Those fields are leased and managed by Western Hills Little League and Western Hills Girls Softball, including 8 under-girls softball teams that play and host all their home games against neighboring communities on Field 3, which is the back fields, the dog park. So I have significant concerns around the larger 0.6 acre option. It remains unclear whether the remaining field space would support meaningful youth sports activities such as a full game or practices. Standard 8 and under girls softball fields require 55-foot base paths, and outfield distances should accommodate hits that can reach the fence, something my daughter experienced firsthand last fall while playing in the 8 and under league. Without adequate room for proper infield and outfield, those fields become unusable for organized play. To date, I have not seen any public endorsement from Western Hills Little League or Western Hills Girls Softball confirming that the reduced configuration would still meet their needs. Involving these organizations directly and securing their input or support would help ensure any changes truly benefit the entire community without unintended consequences for youth athletics. And if, Kevin, I know you mentioned talking to Jay, but I don't think any of that's been public. So if we can't get them to publicly comment in the absence, we can consider laying out an outline and having a few neighborhood kids play on the space to see if there is a usable configuration with the 0.6 acre option. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate it. Anyone else wishing to make comment on agenda item number 9? Come on up.
Excuse me. Ronald Hasso, 2810 Pickwick Lane. I agree with Tom and Jeff. I think they shared a lot of great information, so I'll be short and sweet. I think it's great that the city is moving forward with a dedicated off-leash dog park. It has been needed for some time. I urge our city council to do right by all our citizens and create an appropriately sized dog park that is in line with the needs of our community and no greater than 0.4 acres in size. This size allows appropriately sized ball fields and can function as a multi-use space for our entire community to enjoy. Due to our very close proximity to Zilker Park, an oversized dog park is unnecessary for our neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you, Ronald. All right, any other? Yes. Hey, Al.
Alex Robinette, 2500 Hatley. I just wanted to respond to something that Councilmember Glasheen has said a few moments ago that is also kind of reiterated by everybody else. You said that definitively the plan you've presented would allow to complete ball fields to function within that space. But I haven't seen any dimensions, or do you have any way of verifying your claim?
So the material that was in the Park Commission packet that shows the drawings overlays 50-foot square ball fields, and I may not be as good at AI as Jeff, because I know he's like a data scientist by profession. But AI told me that 50 or 55 foot are both acceptable baseline lengths for ball fields. I did speak to Jay Weintraub about it, and I also heard some secondhand from him. He's very reluctant to get involved in the middle of this political issue, is my understanding and what has been conveyed to me. But my understanding is that, and this is one reason why we're not voting on this tonight, is because I think we'll need more input, but on those issues. But my understanding is that those shortened outfields or overlapping outfields still function very well for Little League, because, as he said, the kids can't hit past the baseline at that age.
Okay,
so.
But you're not taking into account girls softball, 8 and under, nor are you taking into account any other use that could be on that field. So I was just curious how you.
I'm not here to argue with you.
Okay, but you did make a declarative statement that your thing works. So I just wanted to know.
I stand by my statement.
Okay, great. We'll see what Park Commission comes up with.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, Alex. All right, anyone else wishing to make comments on agenda item number 9? Nope. Oh, sure. Yes, sorry.
It feels to me like we're getting way ahead of ourselves here. I am not sure where the consensus came from. The designs that have been put out were presented as if they were the only options. And I don't know that that's the case. I don't think that we are as far along as everybody assumes that we are in this process. And it concerns me that we are skipping over a whole lot of kind of what are the issues that we need to address, how can we address them all, what are the dimensions that we need to consider. There's a lot of talk about taking down fences and making big spaces to be used for other things, and I think that we need to kind of start at square one with some of this stuff, because right now we seem to be kind of jumping into the middle of it.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
I also share some of the concerns that Councilmember Hudson has raised. One item that I'm aware of, because Tom will be aware of this too, because of the work on the comprehensive plan strike force. There was a community-wide survey done in late 2021 in connection with the comprehensive plan. And one of the questions, the park issues were on that survey. One of the questions was, should the city establish a dedicated dog park that is separate from the existing sport fields? 336 households within this community responded to that. It was one of the higher, the 336 households was pretty common level of participation in this survey. This was not individual residents, but households. The results of that survey indicated that there was about a 50-50 split between those who thought a dedicated dog park should be, that would favor a dedicated dog park, and 50 that would oppose a dedicated dog park. The actual results were 141 households opposed a separate dog park, and 135 households supported a separate dog park. And what the comprehensive plan concluded, or the comprehensive plan strike force concluded and presented in the comprehensive plan, which was adopted with the approval of both Parks Commission and RCDC and this council, was that people felt very strongly about the park as an amenity, one of the major amenities of this community, but that there was no consensus on the issue of an off-leash dog use from the survey. The comprehensive plan strike force did not adopt the recommendations in the park master plan, and that's explicitly stated in the comprehensive plan because of the lack of consensus on that issue. In comparison, there was another question asked in that survey, and that was, should the city provide additional shade through tree planting? And this, there were 337 households that responded, and over 80% said yes. And so I think that gives some background on the split within the community on the dog park issue. And where, what I think, where my concern is in this project is not that we haven't moved toward having a separate dedicated dog park. Maybe sentiment has done that. But because of the importance of the park to the people of this community, we need to ensure that whatever recommendation comes forth from the Park Commission has been well vetted. It takes everybody's concerns into account. It vets those concerns, both from people who use the dog park, people who use the baseball fields, and the other people who enjoy the dog park, who enjoy the trails, and who enjoy the park for other uses. I don't think we can rush through this decision, nor can we do it in such a way that we don't have a comfort level that there is consensus for whatever new plan is proposed. I'm fully confident we've got enough talented people to come up with a plan that is the best solution for this issue. I fully believe that. We've done that several different times. We've done that with commercial development along Big Caves Road. We've now done that with building heights in our residential section. And I think we can get there. And I think if we get there, here's what it does. Number one, we're not going to re-debate that issue 5 years down the road after we've spent a couple of $100,000 coming up with a plan that could be changed because the council has changed or the vote up here has changed. We don't want to spend that money. You know, it's not the right fiscal decision to spend a lot of money and not have that plan accepted throughout the community. And so that's where I come up. That's where I am on this. And when I ran for city council, that's what I told people. I said, I am for the status quo until we have a consensus that this community can support to change it. And that's where I stand today, not only because it's the right thing to do as a community, but it's also the fiscally responsible thing to do, because we don't want to spend a bunch of money, have a group upset, fight that process in the next council election. That would not serve our community well. And so my view on this is that we take the time now, we listen to each other, we listen to each other again, we listen to each other a third time, we vet the proposal that comes out from that process, and we hope that all of us can compromise and come to a solution that best fits this community. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brown.
That was your best speech I've heard in 3 days.
That's
Good.
Thank you. Well, I've thought about it a lot, and Tom and I've suffered through the comprehensive, we didn't suffer, it was a good exercise. The comprehensive plan task force and the things we've done in the last couple of years, we can get this done. We can get this done, and we can get it done in a way that isn't a fight. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And I see Colin Harvey with his hand up. I'll recognize Mr. Harvey. Please recognize yourself.
Colin Harvey, 4903 Southcrest. One, I just wanted to thank everybody for what is such a collaborative tone on a difficult issue. Just commenting, agree with, especially Brooke, your characterization there. One question I just had as it relates to where we are in the process, it felt like the way, even though Kevin has conveyed that he has a point of view on what the answer should be, Jeff has a point of view, many people in our community probably have a point of view, but it sounds to me like we are taking this up through Parks to come up with a few options and do all of the things that Brooke described. So it sounds like we're on a good path. I was just curious, am I misinterpreting what we're trying to do?
Not to my knowledge, Mr. Harvey. That is the process that I think is underway currently. I think this was just posted this evening for to hear a few additional comments from council and Councilmember Glasheen related to that process you just described.
Okay, I was just curious. It sounds really great. I just wanted to make sure I kind of understood where our next step is.
Unless I'm misreading the room, that's my interpretation. So.
No, I just I kind of heard Sarah's point as well of like let's make sure we're going through a process, and I thought I heard one, and I just want to make sure I did.
I think you heard.
I think your understanding is correct.
Well, thank you all very much. I was just curious. Thank you.
Thank you, Colin.
I will be very brief, but I am on Parks Commission. I am on the subcommittee. I'm Laurie Mills, 2610 Rollingwood Drive. Parks is taking this seriously. We are listening to all voices. There is more than one plan out there. There are still discussions happening. We are not rushing through this. We will hear the community. I do think 2021, our community has changed a lot since then, and we want to make sure that we ask the right questions in the right way. But we want to do what's best for Rollingwood, obviously, and there's a small subcommittee that will meet tomorrow, and we'll meet weekly. So I just want y'all to know Parks is on it, and we will come to y'all with a recommendation when we have all the information and consensus.
Good.
Awesome.
I guess you could come. It's not as long as it's not, there's only 3 of us so that we don't violate open meetings, but I'm sure you could come. It's just our first one. We're just getting started and figuring out how we want to tackle it,
But any final decisions of the subcommittee come before the full commission, and then that's
the full Parks
yeah.
Commission, yes. So our subcommittee will make a recommendation or give options to information to the Parks Commission, which will then discuss it, decide, and come with a recommendation to you all. But we're not set on any one idea at this point.
Sounds great. Jeff, I was just letting you know that the full commission will always require an open meeting. So, yep. Okay.
I'll just add one thing that I think for everybody, the place to watch this is going to be at the Parks meetings going forward. We might not always talk about it up here every month, but that is going to be the place everybody's passionate about it, paying attention there, because I do agree with all the comments that everybody's taking this very seriously, wants to do it the right way, and is going to get consensus on it. And it always takes us longer than we want to get this stuff done. So we'd be surprised if it takes a while. But and I've also learned not to follow these other people speak because they're really good at it. So listen to them. Thanks.
Okay. Any other comments?
One quick
Yes, ma'am.
thing. I'm really quick search on here, but it looks to me like our registration requirement for dogs is only for dogs that have been deemed dangerous dog, but not all dogs require registration.
Who's on that committee? Who's on the dangerous dog committee?
I want to know where the tags are.
That's not a mayoral appointment, I'll tell you that.
Well,
Okay.
I think that's the court.
Okay, got it.
I'll be the liaison for that.
Yeah, you're chosen. Okay, any other comments? Hearing none, we'll move off of agenda item number 9 and move on to agenda item number 10, somewhat related topic. Discussion and possible action on parking lot and park entrance improvements. This is Mr. Glasheen's item. Recognize Mr. Glasheen.
Yeah, and I didn't even know it was my item, so I'm not sure exactly.
Well, then it should go quickly.
Yeah, it should go very quickly. I might have asked that we keep it on the agenda every month because I just want to make sure that that's probably what happened. And I think it's good to talk about the park every month because there's a lot going on with the Park Commission too with their parking lot and tree project. And I just always wanted to make sure we had an agenda item so that we could deal with their issues if there was anything, to discuss as an interim step in their process. So I don't think there is anything to talk about here, so we can move on.
Sounds great. Thank you, Mr. Glasheen. Any other comments from council? Hearing none, we'll move off of agenda item number 10, move on to agenda item number 11. Discussion and possible action to approve Boy Scout Troop 31's service project to clean up the wilderness area in the northeast corner of the Upper Park. As you know, council and previous councils as well, our great Boy Scout troops occasionally bring projects to City Council for approval to aid in their pursuit of various badges and community service projects, and that is what is before you. I think Alan has been the one that has had the most communication on this project, so I'll offer him the floor, but then ask you or open it to you to have if you have any questions.
Well, I think the packet item is probably fairly self-explanatory. Steve Marcy, as you may know, helps guide Boy Scout Troop 31 here in Rollingwood. He recently contacted the city offering the troops assistance with cleaning up the natural area in that northeast part of the park. They've been helping the Western Hills Athletic Club in their adjacent land doing the same thing. There's a lot of just broken limbs, remnants of an old fort, those types of things that need to be pulled out of there, both for stormwater control and also just general litter cleanup and that type of thing. He had a presentation that he made to the Park Commission, which is included in your packet there. Exactly what the mayor said, it just instilling ethics and moral choices in the children who are part of the troop there. So the Park Commission did vote on it. They voted 7-0 to recommend approval of the project to council.
And I'll point out, I remember from Park Commission, they're not going to use any power tools, and they're only cutting dead brush, nothing live.
Exactly, yes. They're not removing anything live. They're not going to be using the power tools. They're going to be pulling that stuff out, and then our Public Works team is going to be helping during the business week of putting it into a roll-off for them and finalizing the disposal of it.
On behalf of the administrative and public works sector, we are always in support of free labor. So, yes.
I would move approval of item number 11, the cleanup of the wilderness area in the northeast corner of the Upper Park with those conditions that are stated on page 17 of the presentation, the service project presentation.
You have a motion by Ms. Brown. Is there a second?
Second.
You have a motion by Ms. Brown, a second by Mr. McDuffie. Further discussion, council? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Being 5 ayes, no nays, motion carries. Thank you, council. Moving on to agenda item number 12. Discussion and possible action on an ordinance amending chapter 107, section 107-3, and adding section 107-85 of the Rollingwood Code of Ordinances related to playhouses and playscapes. This agenda item is back before you after a number of tries. And I have it down as Ms. Brown's agenda item. I think that she is the main person who's gone back and forth with staff trying to fine-tune this language. I think there were other conversations with maybe Ms. Hudson after previous conversations, so I'll turn it over to Ms. Brown as Ms. Brown's agenda item.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's actually the staff's agenda item bringing this forward from the Planning and Zoning Commission that approved a proposed ordinance for the council's consideration. I had some current concerns with that proposal as it came from planning and zoning, and I am happy to walk through those. I think Nikki was prepared to address those items. And I'll just say that the last two documents that came yesterday in the packet came because the draft, the two items before, which are the Park Commission, the Planning and Zoning Commission proposal, and then my edits to that proposal weren't in ordinance format. So that's why nothing's changed except that they're properly redlined now. So I
Perfect.
think Ms. Stotzenberger was going to give an overview.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Nikki?
Thank you. Okay, so I have all the drafts here in front of you and quickly going through them. On page 54 of your packet, we've got the draft that went to public hearing for Planning and Zoning Commission as well as City Council back in September. On the September 9th Planning and Zoning Commission date, after the public hearing, Planning and Zoning Commission went over the draft, kind of making a few changes that were expressed at the meeting. And that begins on page 57 of your packet. They added a few items to the definition of playhouse and kind of came in with items regarding playhouses on corner lots. Page 60 is the draft that was edited by Councilmember Brown. And that is from the edited version from the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. And that kind of really fine-tuned some of the items for a qualifying playhouse, qualifying playscape, and narrowing those down to the different areas of where it should and shouldn't be and how it was measured. Page 64 of your packet does take that ordinance and breaks it down with the blanks that are available for y'all to fill in if that is the draft that you choose, for the different sizes, the height, how many square feet the size of the playhouse or playscape can be. And then we took the draft, Councilmember Brown did the same thing, broke down hers for the footprint area and square feet, height, and such. Two of the items that if you take a look at the Planning and Zoning draft as well as Councilmember Brown's draft was the, as our legal counsel went through, there was the word temporary was put in to kind of define a playhouse and a playscape. And with that, we were given 3 different definitions of what temporary could be. And I can go over those right now with you.
We already have a definition of temporary in our code.
We don't.
We do.
We do.
We do.
In the zoning section?
I don't know. I copy and paste. Temporary buildings, 107-78.
Okay, but that's a temporary building. Does that still would that still apply with a temporary structure?
Well, we
And
could
it's
always call
your
a
ordinance.
Playscape is a temporary building instead of temporary structure. I mean,
What is
We already-
what is the reference again?
107-78.
Wh- 107-78 doesn't define the word temporary. It states conditions that a temporary building can't have more than one temporary building. It can only be in a rear or side yard attached to a main building. It shall not be attached to a main building, shall not exceed 10 feet in height. So it's not actually a definition. I can check and see. If, word temporary is used 42 times in our code, so I can't do that tonight. The definitions are typically for zoning are in 107-3. But I think it's 107-3.
Yes, ma'am.
We do have a definition in 107-3 of temporary building. And that is very similar to one of the definitions that Charlie's office has given for purposes of this ordinance. It reads a temporary building is an enclosed building, or it's very similar to the second temporary definition.
Yeah, we drafted, I'm sorry, Councilmember Brown.
Erected on a temporary foundation such as skids, located on the same lot as an existing main building, does not contain plumbing or sanitation, not connected to any electrical, water, wastewater, or gas utility.
And we just gave some examples for purposes of this specific regulatory issue, not for the broader use of the code. That was what we were attempting to do. In other words, temporary this definition of temporary would only be applicable to the play structure.
Well, all these definitions of temporary are specifically addressing a structure. They're not a definition of the word temporary.
Well, we could solve the problem by using temporary building at line, instead of a freestanding temporary building as opposed to freestanding temporary structure. We can solve the problem that way.
Right.
So that's one issue we need to address.
All right, so the two drafts that we have up for grabs with the blanks would be the one on page 64 of your agenda packet and the one on 67 of your agenda packet. The first one on page 64 is the planning and zoning draft with the blanks for you to make your edits for those sizes and heights. And the one on page 67 is Councilmember Brown's draft with the blanks. Of course, can always mix and match.
And I would be happy, Mr. Mayor, to go through the issues in connection with what changes I made to the planning and zoning proposal.
I think that would probably be helpful, if you would.
Happy to do that.
Councilmember Brown, can I make one more?
Okay.
Chair Bench from the Planning and Zoning Commission also brought up, and Councilmember Brown, you had also brought up that during the February Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, back before the ordinance was even kind of in an ordinance form, it was more so in tips and ideas and how they wanted to kind of formulate all this. There was a motion that was made by the Planning and Zoning Commission talking about the maximum size or the maximum footprint size of the playhouse to be 120 square feet. So since that did not make it through all of these ordinances, we have not dropped it in. So that is something that was brought up after the agenda packet was posted. And so that is something that if you would like to discuss and kind of add in on how that was.
Sure.
Thank you.
I'm prepared to do that.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. If we work through the differences between the P and Z proposal and what recommendations I would make, first is, as noted by our city attorney, we do need to better define temporary. We can do that by using the definition that's in the code that Sarah has identified, which is very close to what's the second option in both the P and Z draft and the BBB draft. The second issue, I'll kind of walk through this. Under this proposal, playscapes would be exempt from regulation, and basically a playscape could be located, with one exception. A playscape would have to be located in a side or rear yard, may be located in a side or rear yard. The playscape definition then defines what doesn't have to have, what a playscape is versus a playhouse. So if it's a playscape, you're good so long as you're not in the front yard. So that definition is a temporary structure, mostly unenclosed, no solid floor, at grade level or within 48 inches of the grade, designed for children's activities, usually consisting of a swing, slide, or climbing walls and a ladder. So I think both drafts are consistent in that respect. The second issue is playhouse. Both drafts are consistent in what is a playhouse. That's a temporary structure with a roof supported by walls, designated as a toy for children's activities, and not supplied with utilities. So both drafts are, where the differences come is that in the planning and zoning proposal for playhouses, a playhouse would not be subject to a permit requirement if it is 8 feet or less in height, and if certain other conditions are met. And it may be that it less than 12 feet in height is the planning and zoning proposal. And then the second condition is one that I have, here's where my concern arises. And that is that under the planning and zoning proposal, a playhouse can encroach within a side or rear yard so long as it doesn't encroach more than a certain number of feet. 100 feet, I think, is what the planning and zoning proposal was. Remember, under planning and zoning, it could go up to 12 feet. So you could have a playhouse 12 feet or higher within 6 feet of an adjoining property and within the rear yard. My concern with that is that twofold: the height, and then I will say the incentive it gives to kind of gain what a playhouse is, and I'll explain that. But first, as to height, if you're that close to the neighbor and you have a 12-foot structure, it's going to impact, the playhouse will be visible to the neighbor, and it could impact that neighbor's privacy. Not only is it visible, you're going to see it over the fence. Our ordinances limit fences to 8 feet, so you're going to see it over the fence. If you have this without a total size limitation, the 120 square feet that was in the original planning and zoning proposal, if you can have a 12-foot structure within the setback, 4 feet within the setback, 12 feet high, without a limitation on height, it can adjoin then whatever structure you have within the buildable area. And I think just allowing the option to have a 12-foot structure encroach within the setback is a concern for me. Do you attach a playhouse or a covered bocce ball court, call it a playhouse, it runs 12 feet, but now you can take your poolside accessory building height up to 12 feet at the neighbors. You know, it seems to me we still need a limitation on the size of a playhouse if we're gonna allow that playhouse to be within the side or rear yard. I'm a bit ambivalent on what that is. I had thought that it was I thought it was an oversight on the part of planning and zoning not to include that. This is when I was reading through this, I thought, oh well, you know, the draft, the 120 feet didn't get into this draft. I don't think it's necessarily something planning and zoning recognized they were doing or intended to do at the time, but they did intend to allow an encroachment. But I think if they had thought about, does that create incentives for gaming the system? You know, is this right? Should we limit the encroachment is limited to 100 feet, but you could have that 100 feet be 1 foot wide and 100 feet long. And so that's when, you know, that's 100 square feet. So that's why I think we still need some kind of either a size limitation on a structure, a playhouse structure that's gonna be in the side or rear yard, and or a height limitation. So those are the two differences. Under the, what I proposed, you would have a, and then there's a third issue. I would not have, my recommendation would be not to allow it to encroach on in the side or rear yard. I could live with 12 feet if you did that, but if you want 12 feet, then I think we need to relook at the, you know, if you want 8 feet, if you're I would be okay with 8 feet with some encroachment allowed in the side or rear yard. I'm not okay with 12 feet and no real limit on what can encroach in a side or rear yard. And then the third issue is the draft I had says you would not allow a playhouse to be built within a public utility easement, drainage easement, natural drainway, or impede access to a public utility easement, drainage easement, or natural drainway. So those are the differences for your consideration.
Thank you, Councilmember Brown, and thank you for your work on working with staff on this one. The floor is open to whatever council wants to do on this agenda item. I know you've thought about it a number of months now.
I prefer starting with Brooks' version of the ordinance. I think that has considered the issues, and I agree that we need to have some limitations on the size. To me, if we are changing the code to pull a playhouse out of the definition of an accessory building, it is because it is not obtrusive to the neighbors, and we don't need to worry about its size from a privacy issue, from a drainage issue, from any other concerns, because it's small enough and contained enough that it's not causing problems. And so, to me, our code does not restrict a fence to 8 feet, but anything above that needs a permit. So if we say it is 8 feet or less, if you're gonna put it in the required yard, a playhouse, 8 feet or less, that would be below the level of a fence that can be put in without a permit. You can't really have 2 stories on an 8-foot building so that you don't have kids up above the fence peering over the fence if you keep it at 8 feet. And 120 square feet is bigger than a lot of people's bedrooms and offices, you know, kids' bedrooms and offices. That's pretty big, and that to me, I don't know if it encourages, but it allows the kind of a slippery slope, right? You say, oh, it's a playhouse, but it's big enough to be used for other things, and then, you know, you put it up as a playhouse, and then it becomes an office or something else that was put in, which in the setback, which is not the intention of this. So I think that 120 feet is more generous than the allowable size for a playhouse without a permit should be. So I don't have a specific limit. My grandkids' playhouse is 5 by 5 and 5 feet tall, you know, I mean, clearly that's for very small children, so I'm fine with something bigger than that, but 120 feet seems overly generous for a non-permitted structure.
Okay, other comments, council? Okay, am I hearing one or not?
Yeah, I'll make
Okay.
a comment. So just because it's 8 feet tall doesn't mean it's gonna be below an 8-foot fence. My property, my side yard has about has about a 6-foot grade change just in the setback. So, you know, you could easily have if you had a playhouse within the setback next door to me, it would be, 6 foot higher than an 8-foot fence if it was, but anyway, even if it was 8 feet tall. So, but I also say that I kind of where I started with all this is that I know how we got here, that, you know, staff was concerned about, you know, the code apparently on its face applying to playhouses and wanting some guidance and direction from us to clarify that ambiguity in the code. I know that's why we're here. I mean, I will tell you, if I wasn't a council member, instead was an administrator, I'd probably be like, don't worry about playhouses. And it doesn't need to become a code drafting exercise. But I understand why we're here where we are. I'm actually very, you know, I know this issue involves, you know, Mr. Hasso's playhouse, and he had strong feelings about all of this effort, and I hope you appreciate the intention behind this is not to try to hassle playhouse owners, but it's to clarify the code so that playhouses don't get hassled. So it's, but I'm still interested in any thoughts that you have before we go, you know, much further, if you don't mind sharing any. If you'd rather not, I don't mean to put you on the spot.
Yeah, I'm happy to speak. Step right up. Just identify
Ronald
yourself.
Hasso, 2810 Pickwick Lane. My playhouse, not my kid's playhouse, that is mine as well, is at our house, and it's the one in question. Supposedly city staff was the ones that alerted to you guys to this playhouse and it being a problem. I don't think the city has been super helpful. I think the intentions are sometimes good. I don't think the intentions are always good. I'm strongly opposed to this city ordinance. This ordinance places unnecessary and overly burdensome restrictions on the size and placement of our playhouses in our yards. I don't feel these are about what is in the best interest of our community. They're about personal preferences and controlling what we can do in our yards. I want to point out that I can very clearly see into all my neighbors' houses from the second story of my house. So worrying about my kids peering over a fence into your house is kind of completely overblown and not a real issue. There seems to be this obsession in the city with accessory structures. We would be much better overall if we allowed more accessory structures regulated, you know, like, why are we so against mother-in-laws? I would love my mother-in-law to live in my house outside in the backyard, but I can't have a bathroom attached to our gym because of these weird rules that we have. And we're making people build bigger and taller houses because that's what allowed in the code by not allowing smaller accessory structures. So playhouses are a small part of a bigger issue that I have with the city code. I just don't think this is what we should be doing. This really feels like certain people on council are treating the city council as their own personal HOA, and I really don't like that. I think city time and resources are being misused. It's been like, I don't know how many months this has been going on, over a year, that you guys have been dedicated to this. You could be doing much better things with your time, is my opinion. I don't think this is an issue that has come up very often. None of my neighbors have complained about the playhouse. I've talked to all of them. Lots of kids want to come over and play in our playhouse. And I think this is just an issue that is a complete waste of time for our city and a waste of money. How much time have we devoted to this? It's not a real problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. Okay, council. Oh, yes, come on up. Yep.
Dave Bench, 1 Randolph. First off, this is probably a lot more complicated than it needs to be, but we have spent a lot of time on it. I want to point out a couple of things, and first off is that what was missed in the original rendering of code was that the footprint was limited to 120 square feet. And as I understand it, just getting that back into the draft would solve a lot of the issues with what concerns there are. It's not in the draft now. I would like to see it be in the draft before you're considering it. The other thing is that P&Z originally used the word temporary and recommended that be used as far as defining what a playhouse playscape is. It did not make it into a draft. I think there is some concern about defining temporary. I do believe it's an important thing that we do. What is temporary to establish so that everybody is comfortable with it. Whatever is being built is in fact something that is not going to be permanent, whatever that is. Fine, and let's see. There is, I think the first thing that we did that was right is we declared that a playhouse or a playscape is not an accessory building. And P&Z worked off of that. There is one thing that I want to point out within Councilmember Brown's write-up that hasn't been mentioned is that the way it is written is that you can have a playscape or a playhouse and an accessory building, but you can't have all three. And I have a lot of problems with that. Seems to me that if you have a garden shed, you should be allowed to have a playhouse, and if you want to have a swing set sitting right next to it, God bless you, do that. So I find that, again, a little bit of an overreach. We don't need to confine things to that. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Appreciate it.
If I could respond.
Yes, ma'am.
First, on that last issue, currently, the current code would only allow one accessory building, and either a playscape or a playhouse would be considered a second accessory building if you had one. So that's an issue for the council to have to make a decision on. Do you want to change that? I think the answer is yes, but I think it's one per lot. I don't have an opinion about whether one playscape and one accessory building and one play house, but I'm just, that's where we are. Today, all three are counted as an accessory building. The second issue is that neither the P&Z draft nor my draft prohibit you from having a playhouse that doesn't meet this criteria. You just have to go through the permit process for it. So that, I want that to be clear, it's not against kids. And that permit process for, it just makes sure that you're not, it's not the same as building a new house. You do have to make sure that it doesn't violate any of the restrictions in the residential code. But I want to point that out, that I'm with you, Commissioner, Councilmember Glasheen, that we ought to be able to define what doesn't require a permit. But you have to define it, and it's just a matter of getting in the nitty-gritty of what you're gonna allow and not allow, so that people and our staff know how to enforce it. I don't think our staff has done anything, and this goes to Mr. Hasso's remark that I believe our staff should be enforcing our code as written. That ensures they're doing their job and they know what their job is, and it's our job to change that code if that's not what we want our staff to enforce. And so I would take exception with Mr. Hasso's negative comments about our staff. I think they process this.
Can I speak?
I
said nothing negative about staff. Staff was wonderful to work through this whole process. My negative comments were toward members of the city council that have pushed this forward and gotten us to this point. City staff has been wonderful and exceptional for the past 12 to 18 months, however long this has been going on. So I just want to clarify that since I'm being misspoke.
Appreciate the clarification. Thank you. No, you're good. Thank you.
Good night.
My understanding of the situation is that staff did seek our city attorney's counsel as to whether our existing permit, whether Mr. Hasso's structure would require a permit, and was told yes, it would under the current code. And it's our job, if we want to change that, to change it. So I don't think any negative I don't think this is intentional as to Mr. Hasso with regard to his structure. I think it presents an issue that the council hadn't considered, and that's where we are.
I have
Thank you,
a
Councilmember.
question for you about drafting. I'll wait.
Yes, I just want to make one comment for the record, just for clarity for those keeping up. So Mr. Hasso's playhouse is grandfathered, so just wanted to put that on the record. That
Mr. Mayor, I think the action we took with respect to Mr. Hasso, because I asked for clarification when it came up, was that we had suspended enforcement pending a determination by the council as to whether the code would be modified to allow his structure to remain. We did not grandfather it. We did not take action to grandfather his structure. We haven't changed the code that was in existence when that structure was built.
okay. Okay. We'll go back and look at that original motion on that. Did you have a comment?
I have a question, really, because I can't follow all the intricacies of the code work that you've done, and I want to tell you how much I appreciate the time and effort you put into the detail of studying the code and making sure that something's drafted appropriately. So, sorry for my ignorance on this, but if we just said that a playhouse and a playscape is not an accessory building, would that remove it from code, so you wouldn't have a problem with it? I'm sorry, it's the wrong phrase. You wouldn't have to go deal with it if you knew it was a playhouse or a playscape and it was defined as not an accessory building, right? Okay. Is that your understanding of the code too?
Yes, but then there are some other considerations that I think need to be made. If you look at those are the ones that are, that's what gets you into the details. How tall can a playhouse be and still be a playhouse? Mm-hmm. How many playhouses are allowed on a lot? There's still some things like that have to be sorted out.
I mean, as a, you know, you and I are both lawyers, but we come from different lawyer backgrounds. You come from a regulatory, administrative, and deal with a lot of code and regulations. And I come from the
Yes.
background of accident law, where the only rule is that you should use reasonable care and act as a reasonable and prudent person would act in the same or similar circumstances, and try to avoid doing something that a reasonable, prudent person would not have done. So I kind of like the idea of just saying, amend the code to say that a reasonable playhouse or reasonable playscape is not an accessory building, and leave it
Then
at
you
that.
get a footnote from Charlie saying we need to define reasonable.
Well, you can always ask me, because I know what reasonable is.
And the bottom line
But
is.
staff and the
Yes.
judges and the prosecutors and the administration also have a pretty good idea what's reasonable. If something is really unreasonable, I don't know about enforcement, maybe that renders it unenforceable, but I don't see why, because most of the law I deal with is based on a reasonableness standard, and so how can it be, it may cause challenges in enforcement, but I just don't think that it's a big enough problem that we need to really draft that much code and define playscape and playhouse in such detail. There's dictionary definitions, and I think a reasonable person knows the difference between a playhouse and a mother-in-law suite.
Well, yeah, we could do that. We could say, you could say playhouse means, and then you can say a playhouse is so defined is exempt from regulations for accessory buildings and structures. But you still need to address how many per lot, and how tall can a playhouse be, and how big can a playhouse be?
And how close to the property line.
And then, do you allow it in the setback? Those are the basic issues.
I just don't think it's been a problem.
I'm sorry?
I just don't see that it's been a problem.
Sometimes it's nice when something gets brought up that is not clear in our code, that we can come to a consensus on what reasonable is and put it in the code so that the staff knows what to enforce and everybody knows what they're allowed to do. I will point out that our current code specifically lists children's playhouse in the definition of an accessory building.
That's the problem, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm proposing we change.
And that in his letter to the city, Mr. Hasso says, and I quote, "I respectfully urge the city council to reconsider the classification of playhouses under the current ordinance. I propose that the council either amend the ordinance to exempt playhouses from these requirements or create a separate category with more appropriate regulations for non-habitable recreational structures." So he asked us to do this. So.
And I think it's reasonable to fix the problem with the code that requires playhouses to comply with accessory building regulations. I think that's bad code. So we can fix that very simply by just saying they're not accessory buildings. And I know that there's concern about people could abuse playhouses and build awful playhouses, but I just don't really see that as being a terrible problem. I'm not that
No,
worried
it's
about
like
it.
everything else. Some people think it's reasonable to build a 45-foot house in Rollingwood, and other people don't think that's reasonable. So you can't use reasonable as a blanket definition without putting some parameters around it.
I mean, I agree. If everyone acted reasonably, we wouldn't need any laws, but it'd be great. I don't know where we could live where that would happen. But like right now, the side height, 10 foot from the property line of a house is 25 feet. So to Mr. Husso's point, I mean, that house is already looming over the fence. So what's the big deal if there's a playhouse there? And I mean, it's self-regulating in a way because people aren't going to want to have stupid playhouses, I wouldn't think. And if somebody is a neighbor that did something obnoxious, which they sometimes do, I mean, you can always just go talk to them and say, hey, got a problem with that. But anyway, that's just my opinion. I think we just have a different kind of a philosophical difference on it, which is fine, and I respect y'all's views and where you're coming from. I mean, I do. I just philosophically like to see sort of less nitpicky regulation.
I do have one hand raised online. Recognize Colin Harvey.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment real quick in support of Councilmember Glasheen's comments and just sort of listening to this as a citizen. I mean, the degree of effort and thought going into this is borderline embarrassing. There's some simple answers to this, and I really encourage you guys to just make a simple amendment and not think about this as if the entire community is a bunch of idiots that's going to do a bunch of silly things. This is very simple, and I think we're overthinking it. And there's so many other problems you guys should be solving. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Harvey. Okay, council. Okay, I'm trying to figure out how to wrap this up at some point tonight. So the options before you are you can take no action, perfectly acceptable. I know that I feel like we and staff have done our part to bring you the puzzle pieces you asked for. And if you choose not to do anything with those, that's totally fine with us. If you are going to take action tonight, though, I will need you to narrow down what action you're going to take at some point. And so the first question would be, if you're going to take action, I would need you to make a motion to let us know what draft we're working from. If we're working from P&Z draft or we're working from the BBB draft. Again, fine with no action. I'm fine with postponing it. But if you're going to take action, we need to know which draft you're going to work off of. Yes.
Sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, that's fine.
Can we start with a motion for no action to see if, that if we have the votes to basically table this thing, and then if we don't, then we can move on to whatever plan y'all want to work from?
Yes, a motion to table is a privileged motion. I'd recognize you for that motion.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to take no action.
You have a motion by Mr. Glasheen to take no action. Is there a second?
Oh, I'm sorry. I said that all wrong. What I prefer is that we take action to just a simple amendment to the code that says that a playhouse and a playscape is not an accessory building.
Okay, so you've withdrawn your first motion.
I've withdrawn my first motion. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. That's all good. You recognize for this motion, and I'll let you restate the motion.
Okay, my motion is that we amend the code to just simply state that a reasonable playhouse or playscape is not an accessory building subject to code.
You have a motion by Mr. Glasheen. Is there a second? You have a motion by Mr. Glasheen. It fails to receive a second.
Left me hanging there.
Yeah.
That's fine.
A valiant effort. Okay, with that settled, then if you're going to take action different from that action that was recommended, I will need some sort of motion to know what draft we're working on. That would be your baseline motion, and then from there, if you're going to take action, then we can fill in blanks or do whatever you want to do. Are there any other motions from the floor?
I propose we start with Brooks' version of the ordinance and make adjustments as necessary.
You have a motion by Ms. Hudson to work from the BBB draft. Is there a second?
I'll second.
You have a motion by Ms. Hudson and a second by Ms. Brown to work from the BBB draft. We will vote on this motion, and then if it fails, I'll take other motions or we'll move on. And if it passes, then we will make further edits to this draft. Is there discussion? Hearing none, I will say one thing. Obviously, If it doesn't pass, we can still bring this back for a repeat performance next month if it's so desired, because we're just choosing which draft to work from at this time. Is there further discussion?
I would say one thing. And if this motion fails, the current statute, the current ordinance would remain in effect as is. That would be the effect.
That is the effect for the time being until and unless you were to bring something back. Okay, let's just start with the roll call. So, Ms. Brown.
Yes.
Abstain.
Mr. Shell.
Abstain.
Mr. Glasheen.
No.
Mr. McDuffie.
No.
Ms. Hudson.
Yes.
There being 2-2 with one abstention, the mayor votes no, and we are done for agenda item number 12 for the evening. All right. Moving on to agenda item number 13. Discussion and possible action to conduct a review of rates charged for water usage and an assessment of usage tiers. Ms. Hudson. Oh, and I have thoughts for you on this, but it's your agenda item. I'll open it up. So I'll let you open it up for us.
Okay. It has been a while since we did a water rate study and an adjustment of our rates. We are looking at our water contract with the city of Austin expiring in a few years. We are looking at finding, and hopefully they'll let us renew that, but we haven't gotten there yet, so.
Yes.
We're looking at finding
Getting closer,
alternate sources of water from the LCRA. And in the process of submitting that application, there's a section in there where we have to commit to our water conservation efforts and how much we're gonna reduce our water usage. There was an article in the Statesman late last month, Texas feeling squeezed from lack of water. And in the midst of all of this, I was walking my dog and saw every morning I was walking by a house that had their sprinklers running and water running down the street every day. And I asked about water usage because we had to list in the LCRA application the top 10 water users in the city. 9 of the 10 were commercial, but there was one residential with a crazy high number that I still don't understand how that much water can be used. And so I had asked if we could get information on water usage in the city and the residential usage, and we have had some really high usage. We used to have higher tiers, you know, so we have a tiered structure now, but we used to have a tier that was, right now I think 50,000 gallons in a month and up is the highest tier. We used to have one that was like over 75,000 and over 100,000, and a previous council took that out because they go, nobody's gonna use that much water. That is not the case. So I think we need to reassess to make sure that the rates that we are charging for usage complies with, you know, covers our costs, because I think I had also seen something that City of Austin is considering raising the rates for water, so we need to make sure that we are covering our expenses for the water that we're purchasing from the City of Austin. And then we also need to address the tiered structure and add some more tiers and do something to, I don't know how to put this, make it more, make them incentivize more conservative use of water. That's probably the most politically correct way to say it, yes. But anyway, I just think we need to start the process because, like I said, we are water limited in Central Texas on the whole, and we're kind of at the mercy of people that we can purchase water from. And if they see the usage that we have, I think that's gonna be a problem. So we need to work on our conservation efforts, and I think looking at the tiered structure is one of the first ways that we can help to address that issue, so. And it has been more than 5 years, I think, since we looked at our water rates, so it's time to take a look at that too. So I would suggest that we send this on to Utility Commission to start looking at what we need to do a rate study.
And I'll just add some context. You were correct, and I didn't remember which year, but in 2019 was the last time we did our wastewater rate review. And so in about 2018 or 19, I can't remember which, I mean, Sarah may remember, but there's not a reason that council would. So we began budgeting for this agenda item alternately each year. So each year the budget, and you adopted the budget this year, it has a line item, and that line item is funded. I don't know if it's enough yet, but that line item has been historically based on the cost of a rate review as has been done historically for us. And beginning in around 2018 or 2019, one year we would budget for a wastewater rate review, and then the next year we budget for a water rate review. And so we see it each year in budgeting, and we just move it to the other agenda item, or the other fund. One year we'll fund it out of the water fund, and the next year we fund it out of the stormwater or the wastewater fund, and then we just alternate it back and forth. The last time we did it was the wastewater rate review. It was, I think, the year after that then that we budgeted for the water rate review, but that was about the time that we started talking about electronic meters, and then that project and process took a few years, and so we're sort of now fast forward. We finally got that done. We got those installed. We paused on doing a rate review during that time period, knowing that we were trying to get the electronic meters in, and then a rate review would be much more beneficial and much more precise once we had those electronic meters in. So that's just the historical lesson on this. I'm just pointing out to you that it is budgeted for your consideration, and so the dollars are there. I think if Ms. Hudson makes a motion and you vote for that motion and you send it to the Utility Commission, how we would proceed would be to talk to the Utility Commission, tell them what you're asking for.
Alrighty.
If you could. Hey. There we go. So we'll let the Utility Commission know what you're asking for, and then we would probably encourage them to work with us, and we would, if they then approve it and send it back to you, that would probably be in the form of request for an RFP, and then we would go down the RFP route.
Yes. Just when you say budgeted for, is the rate review, is this like what kind of dollar amount are we talking about?
It's not huge. I think it's $5.
It is
Oh, look at that.
$5,000.
I remembered.
It is $5,000. It's
yeah, it's not huge. Now that was $5,000. That was around $5,000 in 2019. So it may be $10,000 now. I don't know what it will be, but you do have at least some money.
Okay. Now I heard you earlier say you switch wastewater and water every other year. Does that mean just as a budget item every year, or we do it every other year?
To be honest with you, we started budgeting it like that so we wouldn't forget to periodically do it. It doesn't mean that we do it every year. It does mean that we move it back and forth every year so that we have to deal with it once a year, so that at some point if this conversation arises, then we haven't forgotten to budget for it.
So we have money to do it, now we're deciding if we're doing it.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Because prior to that, I think it had been like 15 years. And so in the budgeting process, I said, let's just budget this every year. And then if we don't use it, we don't use it. But at least we won't get caught flat-footed. And at some point, we will remember, oh, we should probably do that again. Yeah.
I'm in favor of doing a rate study but I need to ask a question, and that is, when I looked at it looks like our current rates were set in 2018. And the rates are based on the size of the meter. And I don't know if we have different meter sizes now than we have in our rate schedule, or
That's the base rate? The base rate is.
the water demand charge is based on the size of the meter, the inches of size of the meter.
Right.
The
And then-
usage charge is based on based on gallons,
Right, and it's a tiered rate structure,
and it's tiered.
based on usage.
My question is, we've changed, are we gonna have, in rate setting, in my past
I
life?
started to say, I hear
Yes.
the
In
regulatory rate setting
in my
attorney
past
coming
life,
out.
You needed what they called a test year, which is 12 months of data to determine rates. Because you have a budget, the rates give you the revenue to meet your budget. So do we have data are the changes that we've had in line sizes and meters enough to change what the last 12 months of usage would be for purposes of a rate study? That's the basic. Do we have enough data now that we have new line sizes and maybe new meter sizes? That's where I'm going with this. Do we have, is the 12 months of data that we have now suited to the system we have now so that we can do a rate study?
And I don't know the answer to that question, a very good question. I would say that we believe probably we do, and we believe that all of that data is in the new electronic system, so it's all right there at our fingertips now.
Okay.
I would think we have more.
But I think that would probably be in the opening conversations with a rate study expert to ask that question, like, do we have what we need, or do you need to come back in 6 months?
Here's what we've done, here's
Yeah.
the changes.
Right.
Can we
I
do
think
this?
the main thing that we need to look at is the usage, the fee for the usage and the tier structure. And nothing that we've done to the system changes that, and we have all of that information going back for
And then
decades.
on that
This just
issue-
in. We have data back to July of 2024, and Veronica, I'm not going to steal your thunder. Come on up. I've been told that she is.
This is your moment.
I've been told that she is nodding vigorously in the background.
Yeah.
Hello, thank you. Yes, we started installing the electronic meters June 2024.
And what size meters do we have now?
It's the same. It's a 5/8, 3/4 inch, 1 inch, 1.5, 2 inch. Bless
And
you.
all of that is designated per on each account that you have
Correct.
when you open it up.
Yes.
So all that's there. Okay.
All right, good, thank you.
You're welcome.
Sounds good. One other question.
Yes.
We've been in drought for, I don't know when. We're under drought restrictions, so do we enforce the limit on once a week watering?
We try to,
Okay.
and yes, as best we can.
All right.
Yeah. Okay. I'll happy to take a motion, Ms. Hudson. If your plan is to send this to the Utility Commission, that's probably pretty straightforward. So.
That would be my suggestion. I move we request the Utility Commission to begin the process of a rate review and tier structure review for our water system.
You have a motion by Ms. Hudson. Is there a second?
Second.
You have a motion by Ms. Hudson and a second by Mr. McDuffie. Further discussion? Yes, sir.
So, the money that's set aside, that's for consultant to help guide
Yes.
the discussion with the utility commission?
Yes, I think the way I would envision, so if this motion passes, we would send it to Utility Commission. We'll bring them up to speed, let them know what you're asking for, ask them to look at it initially and give a recommendation back to City Council as to whether they think that this is worthy of doing, and some thoughts on how to go about it. They can visit with staff about that if they want to do some research on who, then that would come back to council for approval of an RFP, and then we would go out to RFP. I know that, again, we haven't done this. I haven't looked at this since 2019, but I remember when I was on council, I think we did an RFP back then and had, 2 or 3 different options to choose from, and then we chose that contractor to do the rate review.
Okay.
I think we used to have the city engineer. It's like, who did Grady work for?
Yes, yeah.
So would the utility commission be picking that person, or are they send
No,
it back to us?
it would come back to
So
you.
they do some work to go.
They do
say,
some
"We
work,
want
do
this
some
person."
they're doing due diligence and making a recommendation. And then they're sending that due diligence and recommendation to you. You say yay or nay, and then tell us if you want us to go out for RFP.
Good.
Is that good? Yes. Okay. Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Being 5 ayes, no nays, motion carries. Thank you, council. We can get that on to next month's, or the next utility commission. Okay. Moving on to agenda item number 14, discussion and possible action regarding terms of service limitation extensions for board and commission members. Okay, council, stick with me here. This is something we go through every year or so, every year, I guess. So there's 2 buckets here that you're going to be dealing with. There's agenda item number 14. Actually, I'm just going to go ahead and pull up agenda item number 15 at the same time. This is discussion and possible action to reappoint board and commission members whose terms are expiring for an additional 2-year term. So there's 2 buckets here. Our statute, or our code, has a term of service limitation, and that is 6 consecutive years of 2 terms each. And in order to reappoint members, you have to waive that. You have to waive that 6 consecutive year term limit first to reappoint those members, and then separate and apart from that, then you have the reappointment or the appointment of your boards and commissions. So that's why it's coming to you in the form of 2 agenda items. I'll have Michaela come up just in case you have any questions. But with that, agenda items number 14 and 15 are in front of you. Feel free to ask Michaela or Alan any questions. Again, these are your boards and commissions, your extension of your policy making body on the council. And with that, I will turn it over to you for any questions to Michaela or motions that you would like to make.
So do we need to do this by individual or by
You can
board
do
or commission,
it.
or just in general?
It's however you want to do it.
Let me ask a clarifying question.
Sure.
First. If we, this is a little silly, so hang with me for a second. If we go ahead and move to extend all the term limits, does that mean they're automatically reappointed, or is it a second vote to reappoint?
I think it'd be cleaner if you can do it either way. You could do a single motion to accomplish both of those goals, or you could waive the term limit and then proceed with the appointments.
And Mayor, may I say something before a motion is made? So each person who is seeking a term limit extension has confirmed that they are wanting to continue service. The only person who is not wanting to continue their service would be Brian Nash, and he is on the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Thank you for that clarification. So, again, Ms. Show, you can do it either way. Unless there's debate on any of these, I think the cleanest and fastest would be to do a single motion. But it's again y'all's discretion.
Yeah, just the easiest thing for me is I think term limits. If these people want to apply, if these people want to go again, then we should let them go again. And then it's a different conversation if there's some cause reasons why we don't want some people on individual ones. But just in general, people want to serve again, let them serve again.
That's generally,
So I'll leave it to the more senior people on this to make motions on that, but that's kind of how, and we might be able to move this along.
you've had a full meeting now, so you can step right in.
I'd like to see us take them separately, because I just, we seem to sort of customarily just say we're not, term limit extensions, we just always extend them. I'm not sure why we have term limits, but I think the appointments are more substantive, and we can deal with them separately, I think. So I'd make a motion that we extend all the term limits listed on the list in the packet, and then consider the appointments individually.
I would offer an alternative motion, and that would be that we consider all of the term limit extensions except for Brian Nash, who's declined reappointment, and David Smith, who has not met the attendance requirements for the last year.
Well, and I understand and agree about David Smith on the attendance, because this has come up before at council about David Smith's attendance, and I was gonna deal with that when we get to the appointments, which I think is the next page, the reappointments, and I was not going to nominate him for reappointment. I was gonna handle it that way, just doing it when we get to the appointments. But that's fine, we can extend term limits for, as you moved, I'll second your motion, that's fine.
So the motion is to,
Yeah,
You made
to approve,
See how
approve
everybody-
all of the,
Okay, so-
extend the,
So this is a motion? Are you making a motion?
She
I'm gonna
is.
restate what I think the motion is.
Okay,
That the motion would be to, extend the term limits for all those persons shown in item number 14, except Brian Nash, who's declined reappointment, and David Smith, who has not met attendance requirements.
you have a motion by Ms. Brown, is there a second?
Second.
Is that Mr. Shell? You have a motion by Ms. Brown, a second by Mr. Shell. Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. There being 5 ayes, no nays, motion carries. Okay, council, I think that's it on agenda item number 14, is that right?
Yes.
Kayla? Okay, that concludes agenda item number 14. Moving on to agenda item number 15. Discussion and possible action to reappoint board and commission members whose terms are expiring for an additional 2-year term. This is still before you, council. I think you understand the task, and you can proceed however you see fit with motions.
So, I can tell you, I'm gonna make a motion at some point, but I wanna see if anyone else has any other positions they wanna discuss, but I'd like to discuss RCDC a little bit. We have, of course, David Smith, we did not vote to extend his terms, but also I'd like to talk about Emily Duran's appointment. She's a very fine person who's done a great job and done a lot of great service for RCDC. And I don't have any particular complaints about her at all, other than that I think that I'd like to see RCDC continue to move towards focusing on the parks, and I'd like to appoint people who have more of a personal history of expressing interest in developing the park with RCDC funds. And I'm not saying that she's against that or anything, but I know she's, just from my experience as being an RCDC liaison, I know she's been strongly focused on the commercial corridor area, which is a good thing. And our chair, Colin Harvey, who's on line here, has done a great job of focusing on commercial, and I think it's an important perspective to maintain on the board. But I think that as we're going forward, and we've got so many park issues, I'd just like to see somebody with more of a parks focus in that position. And so that's going to be my position on the reappointments. Otherwise, I'm supportive of all the other reappointments.
So I'm gonna push back on the RCDC thing. We do have one open spot. We're gonna get to appoint somebody to it because David Smith's not on it any longer. I think that you've done a great job of what you started doing with having, the co-meetings between the groups to try to get us all together. I don't think council and our commissions have been rowing together for a while now. So I don't want to hold our volunteers responsible for something until we give them a chance to work better with us. Because these people all have been loyal, they've all had their own stuff, and it's all my conversations with them, there is this feeling where they don't always know what the direction or feel the support of the council is. And so I feel like us as the elected officials owe it to them to try to work with them, and if they can't, if that doesn't work out, we have tools at our disposal. But that's where my position is with these people that have shown up, have done the work, and there's not cause to do something about it.
And I appreciate that, and I agree with all of your comments. I do. I don't disagree with anything that you said. The only thing I would say about it is that it's not a question of cause. It's kind of like when you have changes in administration, you have changes in committee assignments in Congress, depending on what party's in majority, they get the committee chairs and they get to appoint the committee members. As Gavin knows well from his other job, the Speaker of the House stirs the pot when they get involved. And we haven't done that. We haven't, as far as we've never kicked anyone off of a board or a commission. And we appreciate their service. This is a community. They are neighbors. But I do believe, and it's something that the mayor did tell us, I think my first time I went through this exercise, I think 3 years ago, is that the boards and commissions are supposed to be a tool that carry out the policy goals of the council that's sitting. And we have a lot of people on boards and commissions, and we've had who really come from a previous perspective, or previous council's perspectives, or whatever their goals or commissions are. I agree with you that we've done a bad job of coordinating and communicating, and I am excited about working more closely with the boards and commissions, especially RCDC. I think that that's a great thing. And again, I don't have any personal complaints, and I will say there is not good cause to not reappoint Emily, but I do think we could, it would help us move towards what I would like to see the RCDC doing.
Yeah, I agree with you that the boards and commissions are to help us work towards a goal, and that's there are consequences to elections, but I think unlike state and national politics, we got 1,500 people who live in this community, and we all got to get along. I think my interpretation of what I've seen watching these meetings for the last decade or so is that we do tend to work better when we have different opinions on the boards and commissions in our small community, and frankly, we need to work together towards stop having issues and behaviors where we tear the community apart. And I think if we have too many people of the same mindset on boards and commissions, we're just gonna have more of those problems going forward. And I'd rather, especially with the group we've got sitting up here, I'd rather us work harder at making compelling arguments to win over those very, very intelligent people we have on the boards and commissions to go down paths that we believe are correct. So that's all I'm gonna add to it.
Okay. Well, those are fair comments. I appreciate it.
Okay, any other comments, council? Okay, happy to proceed if you want to proceed as a slate, if you want to proceed board and commission by board and commission, if you want to proceed one by one.
My understanding is on Board of Adjustment that you, Mayor, have to make the...
You're correct on the Board of Adjustment.
So should
I
get to
appoint all of these people back.
Are you going to?
Well, yeah, we have the vacant.
You nominate, we have to
Yeah,
approve.
we have the vacancies coming up, but I consider all of these people continuing their current appointment. So,
Good clarification there. Thank you.
So do we need to vote to approve that?
that'd be great if you get us kicked off.
Okay. I move approval of the reappointment of the current Board of Adjustment members whose term expires this month.
You have a motion by Ms. Hudson to approve the mayor's appointment of Hinton, Hoffman, Spytel, and Martinson. Is there a second?
Second.
You have a motion by Ms. Hudson and a second by Ms. Brown. Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Being 5 ayes, no nays, motion carries. All right, BOA's done, or that part of it. Park Commission. I will take motions on Park Commission.
I move we reappoint the current members on the Park Commission whose term expires this month, including Diana Wallace, Melissa Morrow, John Hudson, and Lori Mills.
You have a motion by Ms. Hudson to appoint Wallace, Morrow, Hudson, and Mills. Morrow chair. Is there a second?
Second.
You have a motion by Ms. Hudson, a second by Mr. McDuffie. All those in favor, or is there discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Being 5 ayes, no nays, motion carries. Happy to take a motion on Planning and Zoning Commission. And Mr. Nash is removed from this document due to him declining the reappointment.
I would move to reappoint Commissioners Nyer, Hall, and Stein.
You have a motion by Ms. Brown to reappoint Nyer, Hall, Stein. Is there a second?
Second.
You have a motion by Ms. Brown, a second by Ms. Hudson. Further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Being 5 ayes, no nays, motion carries. I'll take motions on the RCDC.
I move to reappoint Patrick Sheehan and Brian Ryder.
You have a motion to appoint Shaheen and Ryder. Is there a second?
I'll second.
You have a motion by Mr. McDuffie, a second by Mr. Glasheen. Is there further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Being 5 ayes, no nays, motion carries. I'll take any other motions.
Move to appoint Emily Dorn.
You have a motion to appoint Emily Doran to the RCDC. Is there a second?
Second.
You have a motion by Mr. Shell, a second by Ms. Hudson. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed say no.
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 There being 3 noes, 2 ayes, motion fails. We will move on to Utility
Commission.
Commission. I'm sorry, I have the second page there. Utility Commission. I'll accept motions on Utility Commission.
I move to reappoint Clark Wilson, Jonathan Miller, Elizabeth Bray, and Christopher Meekin to the Utility Commission.
You have a motion by Mr. McDuffie to appoint Wilson, Miller, Bray, Meekin. Is there a second?
Second.
You have a motion by Mr. McDuffie, a second by Ms. Hudson. Further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Being 5 ayes, no nays, motion carries. Thank you, council. With that, we will move on to agenda item number 16. I'm sorry. That was moving off agenda item number 15, moving on to agenda item number 16.
We still have vacancies to appoint.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's not this month.
Oh,
We do
yeah,
that
we'll-
next month?
We'll bring back vacancies to you next month.
okay.
And Mr. Mayor, in that regard, as if there are, I would like to see the posting. Can we is there any problem with publicly posting those persons who apply and being able to publicly post their resumes? These are people who are applying for a public position. As a council member, it's very difficult to, I'd like to see the resumes so that we have a chance to talk to these people and understand, what their background is, and but we can't get it. and currently it's not being posted on the website either that someone has applied, or nor can we get the application unless we individually ask, but the members of the public can't get it at all.
Can I get back to you on that? I need to check legal
Sure.
to see if
Sure.
if there are any issues with posting
I think
that
they're
information.
redacted when
that-
they're sent to us.
And that's that's the basis of my
Yes.
conversation that I
Isn't it
want
the
to have.
same thing that we have with these two people that are in the BOA agenda item
But we
today?
didn't get it until Friday.
Right.
We don't know it long enough ahead of the, if they're applying for a public position,
Oh, you think when they apply it, it should be up there
they
or
should,
something? Okay.
it should be public, and people within the community then also know who's applying, and
Yeah, don't we have
it's a more open process.
Do we have like a list of people who have applied anywhere online?
No.
We
For
don't
different-
currently.
Or where we have where we.
It's not a huge list. Even if we had it, so,
I get that.
But we'll talk about it, and then if there's not an issue with that, or we don't foresee an issue, that shouldn't be a problem.
Have Michaela send us a letter on that.
Yeah, we'll do that. Okay, moving off of agenda item, will you help me remember that? Okay. Moving off agenda item number 15 on to agenda item number 16, discussion and possible action on confirmation by the City Council on the mayor's appointment of members and alternate members of the Board of Adjustment. Get to my document. Okay. So we have one vacant regular board position and two vacant alternate board positions. Ellen Wilson is our first alternate that has the most tenure on the board, and it's been my position historically that the best way to do these is to sort of move everyone up from alternate position to the regular board member once they've gotten their feet under them and had an opportunity to be an alternate for a while. Full disclosure, as Alan pointed out to me earlier, this BOA has not actually met since he's worked here. So it's not exactly a hopping board and commission right now, which is a good thing.
He's only been here a week.
That's true. That said, I did have staff check with Ellen Wilson and tell her that I was hoping to be able to appoint her from the first alternate, or from the alternate position to the main board position. Fortunately, she feels like her schedule probably does not afford her that flexibility, and so she politely declined to be appointed to the main board position, but did request to maintain her alternate position. So with that, I go to the second most tenured member in the alternate positions, and that is, at this point, Amy Patillo. So I appoint Amy Patillo to place 4 of the regular, as a regular board member of the BOA. Full disclosure, my plan then would be to then move Alan Wilson into the first alternate position, to move to then appoint Patricia Barnes to the second place alternate member, and appoint Jamie Silver to the place 3 alternate board member, and that will then allow place 4 to be vacant until we have an applicant come along. So at this point, you have before you my appointment of Amy Patillo to the place 4 regular board member of the BOA.
I move we approve the appointment.
You have a motion by Mr. Glasheen. Is there a second? You have a motion by Mr. Glasheen to approve the mayor's appointment of Amy Patillo to place 4 of the regular board of the BOA. Is there a second?
Second.
You have a motion by Mr. Glasheen, a second by Mr. Shell. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed say no. Being 5 ayes, no nays, motion carries. I now appoint Ellen Wilson to first alternate position on the BOA. Is there a motion to accept the mayor's appointment of Ellen Wilson to the first alternate position?
So moved.
You have a motion by Mr. McDuffie. Is there a second?
Second.
You have a motion by Mr. McDuffie, a second by Ms. Hudson. All those in favor?
Question.
Yes.
So the alternate positions, is that the order in which they are called? when we
Correct.
have
That is correct.
Okay, so the position.
Yes, so
The position matters.
the position does matter.
Okay.
That has been our practice. Like, I don't know that the code says that, but it's
Okay.
the easiest
Well,
way.
that's fine. I
It's-
just wondered, it's like she's already an alternate.
That
so
way,
that,
we
you
keep
know.
it straight on
Right.
So that when we're calling everybody, everybody kind of knows you're on deck at all times if you're alternate one. So.
Okay.
Further discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Being 5 ayes, no nays, motion carries. Mayor now appoints Patricia Barnes to place 2, alternate member of the BOA. Is there a is there a motion?
Motion, move, so move.
There is a motion by Ms. Brown to accept the mayor's appointment of Patricia Barnes to place 2, alternate member of the BOA. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion by Ms. Brown, a second by Mr. Shell. Is there discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Being 5 ayes, no nays, motion carries. Thank you, council. The mayor now appoints Jamie Silver to place 3, alternate board member of the BOA. Is there a motion?
So moved.
You have a motion by Ms. Brown. Is there a second?
Second.
You have a motion by Ms. Brown, a second by Mr. Shell to accept the mayor's appointment of Jamie Silver to place 3, alternate board member of the BOA. Is there discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. There being 3. Okay, I'm gonna do a roll call vote. Ms. Brown.
Aye.
Mr. Shell.
Aye.
Mr. Glashee.
Aye.
Mr. McDuffie.
No.
Ms. Hudson.
No.
Being 3 ayes, no nays, motion carries. Thank you, council. With that, place 4 remains vacant, and consider this an advertisement for applications to the BOA. All right, with that, we will move on to agenda item number 17, appointments of members of city council and the mayor to serve as council liaisons to police and courts, utility commission, streets and roadways, park commission, personnel, budget, planning and zoning commission, board of adjustment, and the Rolling Wood Community Development Corporation. Council, these are very much your appointments. These are you are appointing, as a reminder, you're appointing yourselves and maybe me on occasion, to be the liaison between this body, the council, and your boards and commissions. So the role of that liaison is not to necessarily interfere with the boards and commission, but to give them guidance and to mainly be to be the ears in the room so that you can report back to your own body, the council, regarding the activities and the actions that happen at council. So we look to you look to yourselves to have those reports come back to the council if you're the liaison to that board or commission. As I pointed out to one of you who asked if I'd given a great deal of thought to this, again, these council liaison positions are your own appointments of yourselves to your own boards and commissions. And I only start with a slate as a suggestion to you so that we don't spend 2 hours talking about it. So you can do with them whatever you want. You can appoint whoever you want. There was not a great deal of thought here that was given, other than to say I did replace in the slate that's before you. I replaced Mr. Shell in place of Mr. Robinson, and in order to give you all 2 appointments, except for Ms. Brown, who had 3 because the math doesn't work otherwise. I then took Ms. Hudson off of Streets and Roads and put Mr. Shell on that. I thought he would be well suited for that position since he and I have had a long history of streets and road work together over the past 3 years. So, and then I once again ask your deference in appointing me as your liaison, budget liaison. With that, do with it as you will.
I don't think anybody's gonna fight you over that one.
What does that mean, budget liaison?
Means I just keep doing what I've been doing.
You want to do the
Well,
budget?
I know, it's been great. I love the work you've done on the budget. It's great. But does that mean just working with city staff?
Yeah.
That's
correct.
it? Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know if there was some committee or commission or anything else.
There's not.
Okay.
I'm basically appointing myself, or asking you to appoint me chair of appropriations.
Great.
I move we adopt the slate of council liaisons as proposed by the mayor.
Second.
You have a motion by Ms. Hudson, a second by Ms. Brown. I am open to discussion. Everybody good? All right.
And I hate being a new guy.
I want to know what kind of potential you see in Kevin Shelfer. Like where you see him in a year from now, on which boards and commissions.
Latrines and dangerous animals.
It is streets and roads to keep him close to me, right? So I can keep an eye on him. One last before we vote it to do when you do have in these instances where there are multiple people appointed to the boards and commissions. Really, that's done for your convenience too. So if you can't make it, that's kind of who you call. Hey, will you cover the meeting? Or I'm going to be there. So for those of you who do have a second, or when there are two of you for a board and commission, I would ask you to be cognizant of quorum issues if you both show up at that meeting. If a third member comes. So, all right. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I couldn't let up this opportunity. So when I first got on council in 2008, I was the newbie on the board, never served. I had served on Board of Adjustments, but I was assigned the last thing available was streets and liaison. Okay, so just listen.
You're
to
not
me.
helping
Okay.
here, Shanti.
I was the lowest member of the. But.
So I'm
here-
doing the history speeches going forward
No.
someday?
This is important history. Okay, so
My future.
we were at a point, we had finished and Tom will vouch for this, we had finished putting in our sewer lines, and they were supposed to have done our streets.
Oh, yeah.
After all the digging and everything. There was a lawsuit, all of that followed, sewer politics they called it. Anyway, in the papers, okay, and then we didn't get the streets done. So I looked at it as an opportunity, okay? Like I said, I was the lowest member of the totem pole, and I decided we needed to get some money to do our streets. Guess what? There was never money. I went through 2 cycles on the council. There was no money. So I got some inspiration from Tom and some other elders in our council, in our city, and they said, look, there's a 0.5% sales tax that is now completely given over to RCDC, and state law permits a 0.25% of that to be used for streets, and it's legal, but it has to go through an election, and it has to happen every 4 years. I decided to pursue that with a passion. I had to fight off a lot of people in the community who told me personally to my face, the parks are going to suffer because the money is going away. We can't manage our parks. Guess what? RCDC has $1 million right now sitting there even after giving 0.25% to our streets. Yeah. We were getting $80,000 a year from the 0.25%, and every year we have been overwhelmingly voting in favor of it. It's a no-brainer to use a 0.25% of that sales tax to pave our streets. So look at it as a great blessing in disguise to make, I know we just finished paving our streets, but be careful to make sure our streets paved. I bless you with that, okay.
I just remember your earlier comments talking about all the chaos when paving our streets.
Well, here's the thing.
Sorry, I shouldn't
The
start.
chaos was because they felt the money would go away from the parks.
I understand.
Guess what? It didn't happen. We got our streets paved, and every year every 4 years, I think, I remind whoever is in the city hall, hey, make sure that's on the ballot so we can get that money back. So you have a mission to continue this forward. I will back you up.
I gotta take it notes.
100%.
Thank you.
Okay, hearing no further discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Being 5 ayes, no nays, motion carries. Thank you, council. Moving on to agenda number 18, discussion and possible action to approve a memorandum of understanding with Texas Division of Emergency Management for participation in State of Texas Emergency Management Assistant Teams Program. And I will ask the chief to come on up and tell us about this. Kind of a cool program that I think would like to participate in. Chief, tell us about it.
Right, so what this is that we have been provided a great opportunity to go into an MOU with TDEM, which is Texas Department of Emergency Management. That's one of the biggest things that we've been focusing on lately is our emergency management and our response. So what this also does is allows us to nominate personnel and staff to be able to deploy to other cities who possibly might need help, but also puts us into an MOU that if we had an emergency here, that we would also get the same response here in this city and get help as well. And so this actually is no cost to the city, and just be advised that if we nominate personnel and we feel that we cannot accommodate those deployments at this time, because let's just say there's a mass emergency, we are not obligated to send our staff at that time.
I did check that before we.
Yes. Yeah.
But it is a good program, and TDM, in my opinion, does a great job. They're a really good state agency and have great leadership there. So I think it's the right thing to do for our state, and we have the opportunity to benefit from it if we're ever in need as well. So
And gives our staff good training
it does, and they've been doing
on
some great training.
emergency management
Yeah.
in the case one arises here.
Yep. And Mr. Shell has recommended that we'll do a little update for council at some point regarding some of our emergency management activities that staff has been working hard on and taking a number of classes on. So,
Okay.
With that, I'm happy to take a motion from the floor.
I move approval of the, I move approval that the city enter into a memorandum of understanding with the Texas Division of Emergency Management for participation in its State of Texas Emergency Management Assistance Teams, and delegate authority to the mayor to enter into such an agreement.
Thank you for that good nugget at the end. You have a motion by Ms. Brown. Is there a second? You have a motion by Ms. Brown, a second by Ms. Hudson. Further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Being 5 ayes, no nays, motion carries. Moving on to agenda item number 19, discussion regarding the MOPAC South Expansion Project. This is Mr. Glasheen's agenda item, and I know that I appealed to him to carry this last month on behalf of our good friend, my predecessor and friend and colleague, former mayor Tom Farrell. And I want Tom to say a few words, and then I know we have Amy here as well, and then Alan and I maybe can add some color at the end of it.
Tom Farrell, 3223 Park Hills Drive. Again, thank y'all for y'all's service on this. MOPAC South is still is out there. It's going to happen sometime or another. And I had asked for a couple of things that I'm on the MOPAC South Task Force with several other people. And one of the things that I'd like to, I had asked originally was, do we want as a city, as a discussion, to hire somebody to give us some alternative designs for the intersection of Bee Caves and MOPAC? And there are still some issues there that I think that are going to be problematic to the city of Rollingwood. The second thing I had asked for was that since right now we've got the 3 main north-south arteries are all under construction. I-35 will be under construction the rest of my life. Well, maybe, I don't know. But right now, North MOPAC is under construction, but that's getting fairly close. And 360 is under construction, and that's going to be going on for quite a while. And it seemed to me that, and to a lot of other people, that asking the toll authority to consider postponing the construction of this portion of that until at least 360 is complete, or I-35 if that's the case. So we have some north-south access that's not under construction at the same time. My concern is for our city is that all this traffic that comes in there, if it's under construction, finds a way to get through, and we all use Waze, we all use Google Maps, and it'll direct us through the residential areas. And this is a protection in my mind of both our commercial corridor of Bee Caves Road, but equally as important, if not more so, is Rollingwood Drive, to keep traffic off of Rollingwood Drive. And those are the two things. The third thing I would ask is try to get, ask y'all's guidance as a task force as to what y'all would like to see us do in regard to the South Mopac Expressway on that. So I'll leave it at that and answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. You have anything? He appreciates that.
He's a wizened elder.
We're here to support Tom too. So I think I alluded to this last time. I think I alluded to this last time, but I'll expand on it a little bit now that we have a proper posting. So many weeks ago, Ms. Patillo and Alan and myself, Ms. Patillo not on behalf of the city, but Alan and I on behalf of the city, Ms. Patillo in her other roles in service, attended a meeting with CTRMA to try to get sort of a sneak peek of what they've been working on and are planning to roll out. Out of deference and respect to them, because I do really appreciate the effort that they have gone through to try to make some accommodations for Rollingwood and Westlake Hills. They're not, at that time, we're not ready for us to share that with our task force or a broader swath of city leadership. I think that will come at some point. Again, I have a lot of respect for the work that they've done and trying to work with us. I am not convinced, based on some initial readings, that that the end goal of the South Mopac project is going to ultimately align with what is possibly in the best interest of our citizens. Now the jury's out on that, and I think they're still making some efforts to try to do some things. One of the things and they have been great to try to work with us on that intersection and come up with some creative solutions on that intersection. At the end of the day, they don't really consider that intersection a part of the South Mopac project itself, but they have been helpful in trying to facilitate conversations with TxDOT and come up with some ideas. So I think it's maybe, in my mind, a little premature for us to dedicate funding resources to do alternative designs until we get just a little bit further along in the process and to see what they ultimately publish for comment for this next round of comments. But I do look forward to that, and I think it's probably in the near future. Alan, do you have anything to add?
I don't think so. I think just reiterate that meeting that the mayor made reference to, that's the last update that I've had as well. During that meeting, they said the public comment for the broader public would be made aware, we'd be made aware of it at the city level at least 30 days in advance. So however that timing works out, the council will be able to have that opportunity to know about it in advance of the public hearing actually taking place.
And I think, just to encapsulate a little bit, you know, the goal of the South Mopac project is obviously to try to improve travel times, basically from downtown south on Mopac. But in doing so, at the end of the day, the end user also, we oftentimes are also that end user. And so if you're increasing our travel times on that stretch of South Mopac, just because you're improving someone else's travel time, but you're making our travel time worse, and then potentially not really making a lot of headway in terms of the east-west traffic that then utilizes the north-south access points of Mopac. We're just going to have to, at the end of the day, look at those travel times and see if it's something that's in the best interest of Rollingwood and Westlake Hills residents or not. And we will do that when they have that data available to us. That's as far as I'm going to go on it. Usually, Amy, decides she's gonna say something by now, but she doesn't seem like she's.
No interest.
I have a question for, have you checked in with the surrounding communities, Westlake, Chamber of Commerce?
Yeah, in fact,
on these same issues?
yes, in fact, the meeting that we attended was at Westlake Hills, City Hall.
Oh, I thought it was just y'all.
Yeah, it wasn't
Okay.
just us, yeah.
No.
They had a little stakeholder group of us, Westlake Hills. I think the chamber was, are they not there?
It's a nice place to have a meeting.
And is the chamber involved? Westlake Chamber?
We have periodically kept updated them. They were very involved in the work session period of time, and the Westlake mayor has been keeping them somewhat
Okay.
involved. Yeah, and we'll do that again. Yes, sir.
The only other issue, and I'm sorry, sir, should know that by now. shouldn't I? Tom Farrell, 3223 Park Hills Drive. The only other issue is whether or not it would be, the city wants to take a position on asking for a delay on that construction until the other's done.
I think that's a good.
And it's not posted for that, so.
But I do think that's maybe one of the things that we could end up suggesting.
Do we communicate this with the businesses that are inside of Rollingwood? Like you mentioned, the Chamber of Commerce in Wesley, we don't have that as far
Yes.
as I know, so.
But they are members of
They're
that.
members of the
members of
chamber.
that.
They're
Yeah,
members
they
of
are.
that
Yeah.
Thank
group.
you.
Uh-huh.
So Westlake area.
Yes.
Got it.
Okay, that's your update. Happy to-
I think I may have missed, on the postponing construction, are we gonna bring that back?
I think it'll all be back on the table for discussion once we get a little bit more information from CTRMA as to
Okay,
what they're ready to publish.
all right, I wasn't following.
And it may be great. I don't know. It may be, they may have it all figured out when they come back. All right, with that, I'm happy to take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
You have a motion to adjourn. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
You are adjourned.